What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Thursday show, gang. Back live today after a brief unplanned postponement yesterday. Day just kind of got away from me, if I'm being honest. Was working on projections, was here, and then just all of a sudden, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. I don't know what happened. Late slate today, though. We had a early afternoon slate. Weird broken up day. Different slates across sites. Edward B says, holy crap, first time I'm on time, and now Terry's late. I'm usually a couple minutes late getting this started. It was a couple more minutes than I thought, though. I didn't realize it was 5 minutes late. Apologies for that, gang. I'd like to be a little bit more on time than that. Going to try and make some good time on today's show. We've only got 4 FanDuel games to deal with. 5 on DraftKings. They're including the second game of the Royals Cards doubleheader. But going to try and get through it. I've been sneezing my face off all day. So I'm feeling just like not poorly. I don't feel poorly, but I'm just like, like ever just nonstop sneezing all day and just like a stuffy runny nose. It's just allergies, but it's driving me nuts. So sorry for sniffling in your ears as I do this. And I'm going to try and get through it fairly quickly, but we'll see. Quickly for us anyway. Shouldn't take too long. Good crowd here already. Andy's here. Kenny Woodhouse, Larry C. Tiz is here. What's going on? Cujo, good afternoon, buddy. As we get started, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out rotoscouts.com for all of your projections needs. Under $1 a day still gets you access for baseball, basketball for what's left, hockey for what's left. Should be a real good hockey series. Basketball starting up tonight. We'll see how that one goes. Saw a couple contrarian talking head types, picking the Pacers in 7 kind of picks. I think they were just being contrarian for contrarianism's sake. I don't think anybody earnestly believes that the Pacers stand much of a chance, but we'll see. That's why they play the games. Edward B, no worries, man. My internet all screwed up. Sorry. No worries, dude. So let's get into this one. We've got just these 4 games on FanDuel, and then we wrap back around for that one on the DraftKings slate. This is a 6:40 start, so just keep that in mind. We'll be out well ahead of that, I promise. Astros at the Pirates, a low run total in that one. It's Framber Valdez on the mound for the Astros, going up against one of our better targets lately, the Pittsburgh Pirates. I've been in season long, just kind of streaming week after week, a starter against the Pirates. This week I had Lance McCullers, who had a great start the other day. They've been super gettable, really high strikeout team. So love the spot for Framber. Think he's obvious, easy chalk to point to. Tons of depth in his last 5 starts. The fewest innings he pitched was 6. Completed the 6 2 starts ago. Last time out, complete game, 1 run, 3 hitter, 9 strikeouts against the Rays. Similar kind of day. Could be in the cards. Framber's really on form lately. On the Pirates side, it's Mitch Keller, who can be very good, can be a little bit shaky, has been mostly good throughout the season, though. A couple few earned runs in most of his games, but has had some decent strikeout performances. We'll give him a look. Don't love targeting the Astros, but it's also not the same Astros lineup. 4.12 implied total for Houston, 3.46 on the Pirate side, reflecting the downside from their bats. The Cubs and the Nats, I just updated this one on the stacks board on the power index for the Nationals. The Cubbies are going with Drew Pomerantz to open for an inning, and then they're handing off to Colin Ray. And Colin Ray, so gettable and just kind of projected. The Nats project so differently against Colin Ray than they do against Drew Pomerantz that I switched it so that it would reflect the matchup against the bulk reliever. So that's what we're looking at with the Nats. They're at a 4.39 implied total, showing a little bit of power upside. I do like their side of it. And then Cubs look like an absolute smash spot going up against Jake Irvin, pulling a 5.23 implied total there. Slate Ciccone on the mound for the Guardians. Speaking of smash spots, the New York Yankees coming in with a 5.40 implied total with Max Fried on the bump. Looks like a killer spot for Yanks. Killer spot for some Max Fried shares. Guardians check down to just 3.23 implied runs. Fried has been very, very good throughout the season, except for his most recent start. So we'll see what kind of form Max Fried is in, but I really like the upside there and definitely liking some Yankees bats with a lot of power showing. Jack Leiter going for the Rangers against the Rays. Don't love anything about pitching in that ballpark. Always looking to take some bats in that park. Definitely upside for the Rays bats. They're pulling a 4.60 implied total. And then Ryan Pepiot on the mound for the Rays. That might be an exception there. We do still have the low-end Rangers lineup pulling a 4.0 implied total, 398. So maybe a little bit of back and forth in that one. Pepio's very, very good. He's been pretty solid for limiting earned runs. He hasn't been great for strikeouts this season, but he does have the talent to beat that squad. But there is still a high danger spot there. We were talking about it in Discord yesterday. As bad as that Texas team has been, they do still hit the ball very hard when they connect with it. So there is upside for offense. A couple balls get out of the yard against Pepio, and he can give up homers with the best of them. It could get problematic. So I don't love the Pepio spot, but it's a short slate for pitching. And then on DraftKings, we round around to Cole Ragans in his return after 20 days from the injured list, and he'll be taking on Matthew Liberatore. Definitely think usable starting on both sides. I just don't know what Ragans looks like depth-wise. I only gave him 4 and change as far as his depth of start. So kind of a guess spot there. It's not exactly a long-term injury, but probably going to be a little bit limited. It was a groin, if memory serves. A little bit shaky coming back from that sometimes too. So I would expect an innings limitation. Maybe it's 5. Probably don't pull him in the middle of the 5th unless things start to turn sour. But maybe it's shorter. So I kind of was conservative with it. Oh, I forgot we had all these extra pitchers. Let me just wipe those guys out. Why did those not go away? There we go. Much better. So as we can see, enough to work with. Fromber at the top of the board here. Edward B asks, is Fromber the type of pitcher who will come back after an hour rain delay? That's a really difficult question to answer. In terms of he pitches very deep into ball games typically and is one of the more reliable guys for that, yes, but it's entirely unpredictable as far if you got into that situation where there was literally an hour rain delay, what would happen. They definitely treasure that arm, so I would expect they would treat that with at least a measure of caution, depending on the length of that rain delay. The way that Roth has that one, by the way, is as a yellow, and he's essentially saying, I think they managed to play with a chance of a late start or in-game delay, but it sounds like it's a passing storm. So like once it's gone kind of a thing, which I assume is what led to your question there. So like, yeah, loosely yes, but I wouldn't count on it. If that's your major concern, then maybe it's best to look somewhere else. I don't want to guarantee anything on that one. But again, he did go 9 in his most recent start, 6 in the start before that, 7, 8, 7 going back over the last 5 starts. Tons of depth, best spot on the board, easily projects out by a little bit above the rest of the field. But Max right there with him. There are strikeouts in that Cleveland lineup this year. Max's strikeout stuff has been up a little bit overall. And again, outside of his most recent outing, he's been terrific this season. Cole Ragans not available to the FanDuel slate despite having a projection there. I had to put him on the board to get him to project for DraftKings, but looking solid in the 3 spot on DraftKings. That is, again, a 4 and change inning projection. Cole Ragans is that good. So it's just one of those situations where I don't think there's ceiling on that. While Fromber has ceiling, Max has ceiling, and everybody below them has relative ceiling. Ragans probably, that is your ceiling. I think it's a realistic number, but I also think it's your ceiling or thereabouts. So just bear that in mind. Matthew Liberatore has been solid this season. Not the highest end strikeout starter and going up against the tough Kansas City lineup. But again, he ranks right there with Ragans, and I would say he probably has a little bit more ceiling, assuming things are going well for him. Pepio is very cheap at $6,800 on DraftKings. $9,000 on FanDuel stands out. But on DraftKings, that's a dynamite SP2 now that I'm looking at the price. All concerns about the ballpark, anything there, completely alleviated by that cheap price. I'd rather have him than Mitch Keller against Houston, rather have him than Slate Ciccone, who I don't really think is all that playable against the Yanks. Jack Leiter is maybe interesting on the other side just because he's 6,500, but give me Pepio 9 times out of 10 if it's between those two. So a lot of value in the Pepio price. I do think you can succeed with Keller. It's not completely out of the realm. Ciccone is the really sticky spot. 75 is very cheap on FanDuel. Maybe worth at least kicking around if you're building a lot of lineups for this ugly, tiny slate. And then Jake Irvin, and then Drew Pomerantz as an opener, Colin Ray as a follower. Not really into those spots very much at all. I think we're taking bats on either side of that equation. Dying over here if you can't tell with the sniffling and the tissues. King of all trades, going on? Good to see you. So let's dive in and get into some of the game by game. It's warm in here. It's like suddenly turned into June and New Jersey was like, oh, right, it's supposed to be hot there in the summer. It's like 87 degrees out today. Finally got the air conditioner in the window, got it cranked all the way up, and it is warm in this room. It's cool in that room. For some reason, it doesn't come through the doorway enough. So start us off, like the show if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we will dive in. Assuming this plays, assuming that it's dry, major upside spot for Fromber. Nearly a 24% strikeout rate on the year. You can see the 78 innings in 12 starts. Just works deep into games. Doesn't really allow much power. 1.95% home run rate. We harp on this with Fromber all the time for years now. Just that ability to check launch angle and keep the ball in the yard is major for him. 106 mark by Stuff Plus. He's been really, really sharp this year. 11.1% swinging strike, a 3.12 ERA with a 3.16 xFIP. Pitching as well under the surface as he is on the, or under the covers as he is on the surface. And similar marks to everything he was doing last year, everything he was doing the year before. This is just the model of consistency, really. If you're looking across these numbers, there's really not much difference across these, now approaching what, 60 something, 70 something starts. It's just tremendous. Excellent option to throw at a very weak lineup, carrying a 25.2% strikeout rate, 24.2 for the same collection of hitters last year, 23.2. So they're getting progressively worse by 1 percentage point each season. They're drawing fewer walks as well, 10-1 down to 7-7 last year, back up a little bit to 8.0 this year, but definitely gettable. We've been attacking this team with worse pitchers than Framber Valdez, so love this spot. Easy to pay 9.3 for him, easy to pay 10.3 for him. Keller at 75.87, 18.9% Ks, 6.4% walks. Effective, but not great for DFS numbers. He's thrown 70 innings in his 12 starts. He's worked fairly decent depth as well. 6 innings in 3 straight starts. Actually, 5 straight if we're going back. 5 straight starts, all of which were quality starts. 6 innings at least. 1 start in there against the Mets. He went 7, struck out 8. 2 earned runs on a homer, 5 hits. Last time out, 3 earned runs. Struck out just 1 and walked 2 against the Pods, but that's the Pods. They're a low strikeout squad. Typically don't get it that low, but we'll forgive that one. Had a 7 strikeout game against the Brewers, a 5 strikeout game against the Reds prior to those. So again, good, not great, but for 75, perfectly capable. It's just you do have a moderately low strikeout opponent, or at least a team where most of the key hitters are low strikeout. And there is a lot of quality on this Astros lineup, bumps included for this season. There are underperforming players on this team who are still quite good. So definitely a high danger Mitch Keller spot, but I could easily see him getting through with the pricing. Probably like it better as an SP2 or a low price SP1 on DraftKings, depending on what you're doing on the short slate at 75, than I do as a standalone at 87 on FanDuel. I just have a trust issue with Mitch Keller after all these years. I'd probably rather have Astros bats at a 4+ implied total on the short slate. Jeremy Pena up top for them, 44.31, effectively priced. I've talked about him enough where I think you guys realize that I'm not a huge fan, but I respect what he's been doing. It's been an uptick pretty much across the board this year. Barrels are up slightly, hard hits are up slightly, strikeouts are down somewhat, walks have doubled. He's been good over 258 plate appearances. He's at 312, 374, 481. He's hit 9 homers, stolen 10 bags. It's the best stretch we've ever seen. We've seen very strong stretches from him, but never this long, never to this high a peak, I don't think. So very, very playable. If you're going to Astros, he is probably one of their priority bats now. Not a bad way to fill shortstop on a slate like this. That's fine. Give me O'Neal Cruz on the other side if I'm just going head-to-head talent-wise with shortstop eligibility, but I hate the matchup for O'Neal Cruz in this game, and he's way more expensive. There's a lot of back and forth. Then he's also got outfield eligibility, of course. He's got shortstop where you also have the util spot to work with, so you can have both if you want them. Isaac Paredes at 43.32. We'll give the ballpark a quick check here. Ballpark-wise, there's another bad one. Not as bad as some of the parks we've landed in for him. But he's hit 12 this year. His number in Houston would be 13. His number in this park would be 7. Last year, he hit 19. His number in Houston would have been 26. His number in this ballpark, 17. So there is an impact on those just left field corner home runs and his expected home run. But we know there's upside in the hitter, just in his ability to get to first base. He sees a bunch of pitches. He draws walks, fouls the ball off. So this is the pesky Paredes version rather than the power Paredes. Jose Altuve at 41.29, really coming around. 264, 312, 407 after that terrible start. The xWOBA is still really concerning at 283. That stands out against the improvement as saying, hey, maybe it's just a hot, little stretch. But 9 home runs, 5 steals now. At least we're getting some counting stats. He's up to a 103 WRC plus all of a sudden. So it's been some good lately. We hope it continues. Strikeouts and walks are right exactly where they're supposed to be. I mean, dead on from last year. So not completely dead, but probably not the Jose Altuve of old. Christian Walker, major power, tons of barrels, 46.1% hard hits, a 12.3% barrel. Too many strikeouts and too few walks overall so far this year. Just 8 home runs. Not seeing great results, but still putting good wood on the ball. And now that he's 37-28 against Mitch Keller, I will take some shots with Christian Walker. Jainer Diaz, 34-27. Same thing. Just too cheap for the quality. We know that he's a good hitter. 232, 268, 374 with a 353 xWOB underlying, a 9.1% barrel, 43.3% hard hits. This is him on the bounce back after just an atrocious first 100 whatever plate appearances. He really did damage to his numbers early on, and now he's got to do a lot to claw it back. It's still not there yet. It still doesn't look good. But the kid is way too talented to not consider at these prices, especially 34, even if you're just using it as a one-off on a short slate for catcher on DraftKings. Jake Myers, 35-27, overperforming his talent. We've already slipped a little bit. We're 292, 347, 405. I feel like when we first started talking about the overperformance, it was over 300 a couple weeks ago. So probably already coming back down the mountain for Jake Myers. It was fun while it lasted. He's always going to be playable. He can fill counting stats with the best of them. 8 stolen bases on the season. As long as he's getting on, he can exploit that. He's got a minor amount of pop in the bat. So just by virtue of hitting 6th for a cheap price, but he's just another outfielder. He's nothing overly special. Cam Smith, mix and match quality, 245, 330, 365. He is getting on base effectively, 103 WRC plus. He's not doing all that much of anything, but he has put decent wood on the ball, 8.4% barrels and 43% hard hits. A lot of strikeouts, but enough walks to sustain. He's all right. Just another outfielder with a sliver of upside, maybe. Jacob Melton, very cheap down lineup, 9 pretty ineffectual plate appearances so far. Mauricio Dubon, mix and match quality. Second base is where you would want him out of either of those positions. On the Pirates side, it's a pretty ugly day to be going Pirates. You can do it for contrarian's sake on just a small slate, but Frommer's one of the lower end pitchers to attack, because even if it's one of those days where, they didn't really get him, but I had a short stack or I only had a couple guys in there, the degree to which he limits home run upside really takes even a lot of that away. You can see O'Neal Cruz at 5.81 is their highest projected player in the home run model. That's a decent enough number in a vacuum, but O'Neal Cruz is usually way higher than that and approaching or above the magic number, 24.6% barrels this year, 61% hard hits. We get him lefty-lefty against the lefty who forces everything into the ground, really checks power. I don't love it. Maybe a few hard hits through the infield, a couple screaming line drives into the outfield, into the gap, and we've got a decent day for O'Neal Cruz. But the odds of getting that slate-breaking monster day are more limited than they usually would be. Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, everybody else in this lineup is very cheap, so it's easy enough to go Pirates. And again, exploring some value, exploring some contrarian stacks, and chasing that, base hit type day where they just run the score up via that. Perfectly fine to do. I would prioritize McCutchen, Reynolds alongside O'Neal Cruz in that situation. Both those guys in the outfield, very cheap. You do have 3 outfielders out of the gate if you're going that route on the DraftKings slate, though, unfortunately, which is, again, not ideal to necessarily take all 3 and just fill your outfield, but there's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of times that demands a sacrifice from your other stack if you're going that route. 27-28 on the FanDuel slate for those guys. If I was going that way, I would probably use O'Neal Cruz for that reason at shortstop with those 2 in the outfield on FanDuel. Neither of those guys has been particularly great this year. McCutchen's still getting on base very effectively, 354 on base, 254, 354, 387, minor power output with 5 home runs, just a 133 ISO. A 355 xWOB is great. It's driven a lot by the on-base abilities, the lack of strikeouts, 109 WRC plus on the season. He's been an effective run creator, but not a great fantasy player. Brian Reynolds has kind of been neither. 235, 305, 372, just a 137 ISO, 7 home runs, but kind of off the mark for power output results-wise. 11.8% barrels, 47.6% hard hits for something to cling to, though. But again, just bad matchup for power, bad matchup for home runs and DFS stats against Frommer. Nick Gonzalez, mix and match kind of a player in the middle infield. He's got 1 home run in his 6 plate appearances this year. We're very proud of him. Last year, 387 plate appearances. He hit 7/273, 11, 398. He's usable, but a 94 WRC plus overall is kind of who he is. Just another middle infielder. Ke'Bryan Hayes puts bat on ball with consistency, has a decent hard hit rate, and never sees any good results for it. That's just been the theme of him throughout his entire career. He's a stellar defensive third baseman, so he's got that going for him, but that doesn't score you any DFS points. Tommy Pham, Henry Davis, Jared Triolo, and IKF. Pretty weak bottom of the lineup. Definitely supports the upside for Frommer Valdez. Also just completely explains why this team is as bad and as targetable as it is. Pham has not been a major league caliber talent for the better part of the last 18 months or so. 210, 278, 238, no home runs, 3 steals, a 45 WRC plus. Henry Davis, high-end kid. Over 73 plate appearances, he hit 2 home runs. He's been pretty bad so far. The 341 xWOBA would be the thing to point to there. Maybe a 7.7% barrel rate over here, ignoring the weak hard hit rate. Hasn't really struck out that much in the small sample. If you're going to this team, he's a playable catcher option. But if you're just fishing like cheap catcher one-offs, it's really not that high end against Frommer. It's very likely to not put up much of a score at all. And then IKF has never been much of a hitter. Triolo's okay. Mix and match guy, underperforming his talent over 104 plate appearances. But again, another guy who's just there. He's not a priority by any means. Larry saying, went for a run this morning. I'm not used to this stupid heat. I must every lawn service cut people's lawns at 8:30 as I'm dying from all that crap. End of rant. Yeah, there's the obnoxious leaf blowers at 8 o'clock in the morning and the various weed whackers and everything going on and getting all that pollen and the grossness in the air. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you're like me, it'll make you sneeze. And if nothing, it'll like just be on you. You know, you get that like kind of feel. God, just dying. Face is leaking. This goes Frommer. Astros bats, Keller. That part is kind of close, especially on DraftKings. And then Pirates bats way, way in the back. Hey, Joker. Go lay down, buddy. Let me get Colin Ray. Oops. What he didn't give Colin Ray was an actual pitching projection. This is probably a little bit high. I probably would have just given him like 4 innings. It's probably defaulting to the 4.5, maybe even more. But the reason I wanted to put him in there was to give the Nationals their true projections for this game. Ray's going to be acting. What's the matter, pal? Whining. Can you lie down? Go lie down, pal. So we wanted to get the Nationals their true projections for the matchup against Colin Ray, who's going to be operating in bulk relief behind Drew Pomeranz. Against just Pomeranz, the hell is he? Yeah, there he is. You can see the impact it has with him as the opener, but that's just going to, it's an inning, maybe an inning, and come out and get Nathaniel Lowe if things have gone well in the first, and then out of the game. Andy's here, shouting out Joker. So Ray pitching to a 19.5% strikeout rate over his 52 1/3 in 9 starts. He's given up plenty of hard hits, plenty of launch, barrels, not exit velo. Probably getting a little bit lucky to be at a 3.64% home run rate against 3.96 ERA, but a 4.11 xFIP, eminently gettable. It was above a 4% home run rate last year, above that above that mark 2 years ago as well, in 22 starts 2 years ago and 27 starts this past year. So power upside for sure for the Nats. You do have to consider, though, if you're stacking this team, that first inning for these big lefties up top, it does potentially put a little bit of a haircut on them. So be aware of that. They could easily get to Pomeranz. It's not like he's gonna, he's a blow him away type of a pitcher, but it does potentially put a little bit of a damper on the upside here. I think once they get to Ray, they're off and running, though. CD Abrams in the top spot at 53.35. Connect him to James Wood any way that you can at 57.39. Those two stars surrounded by a bunch of capable enough players. This is a national stack that can get there if those two guys do their thing. So there's a lot to work with around the edges here. On the Cubs side, tons of upside just inherently going up against Jake Irvin at a 5.23 implied total, one of the better offenses in the league this year. Plenty of power upside, plenty of home runs on the board, plenty of stolen bases and on-base skills on the board. A lot to work with the Cubs. Would not be interested in Jake Irvin. 3.93 ERA, but a 4.57 xFIP, 15.5% strikeouts against 6.6% walks. 11.5% barrels, 45.7% hard hits, 90.9 miles an hour of exit velo. He's definitely getting lucky to be at just a 3.31% home run rate. That will probably be a different number after this slate is done. I have a feeling the Cubbies are going to put some power on him today. We've got Kyle Tucker up above the magic number at 12.66. We've got another couple guys, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki in the 8s, 3 guys in the heart of the lineup in the 7s. So don't sleep on Cubbies power. They might not be the very top of the board, or maybe they are. I don't remember. I think the Yanks were. It's up on the website at rotoscouts.com if you want to check it out for yourself. But don't sleep on Cubs power tonight is the point. Happ in the leadoff role if you're going Cubs bats, which I definitely want to. 252, 344, 350 this year. Crane runs 3% better than average. Been all right. Underperforming as far as the power with a .098 ISO, just 3 home runs. 7.4% barrels and 37.4% hard hits. Both those numbers pretty significantly down for him. That's something to watch. The strikeouts have come down. The walks are exactly where they were. So it's not like it's really costing him in other departments, but this is a hitter who last year, 25 home runs, 13 steals. The year before, 21 home runs, 14 steals. Has lost a little bit in the power department. As long as he's leading off, as long as he's continuing to get on base, especially with his price down the way it is, perfectly fine with going to Ian Happ in stacks, perfectly fine with the player in basically any situation. Kyle Tucker, superstar. What else needs to be said? 12 home runs, 16 steals, a 393 on base, a 412 xWOBA, 12.2% barrels. Absolutely mashes. You're getting him from the left side against the guy who gives that up. Big potential day for Kyle Tucker. Seiya Suzuki mashes 16.9% barrels, nearly 50% hard hits this year. 14 home runs for him. You have 15 home runs from PCA. You have 11 from Dansby. You have another 9 from Michael Busch. It's a hard-hitting Cubs team that delivers. All those guys have significantly over 10 in the barrel rate department. I was going to say double digits, but better than that. Well, better than that would be triple digits, but it's better than just into the double digits. We're well beyond 10. 11.8 is our lowest in that stretch. Surprisingly, nobody with a 50+% hard hit rate, but who cares? There are some strikeouts through that stretch, but everybody in that stretch can also draw you a walk, get to first base. High quality team. Everybody in their top 8, their top 7 rather, creating runs better than average. 128 average WRC plus for the top 7. That's including Nico Horner, who's here to reach first base, 343 on base this year, creating runs 5% better than average. He'll steal you a bag. He's got 13 in his pocket for the season, scored a bunch of runs. So he's a decent contributor for counting stats for DFS outside of the power department, in which he gives you nothing. He has no home runs on the season this year. 1.9% barrels, 27.5% hard hits. Last year, he did pop 7 into the stands. A little bit of underrated pop there, but that's not why we're rostering Nico. He's just cheap, fills second base adequately. A little bit of run creation upside. Woo! Athletics are killing the Twins 12-1. Soderstrom 2 homers, 1 being a grand slam, says Power. Damn. That Tyler Soderstrom continuing to pay off for people who got to him. At 47, 3,000, still love Dansby Swanson. He's got his 11 homers, a 348 xWOBA, carrying a 185 ISO, just a 101 WRC plus. There's some flaws to pick at with Dansby, but as long as the power's been back, and it very much has been, the barrels and the hard hits have been there. It's a player I've always trusted. I have no issues with it. I'd like to see the on base come up to fill out around the edges. 296 on base is a little bit shaky, but tons of upside. A very strong way to fill shortstop on this slate. Michael Busch from the left side, first base at 4,900 on DraftKings. One of the more affordable Cubs bats because there's three guys that are very expensive on this team, but definitely a guy who helps make things work. You probably do have to pick two of those three guys if you're going to go with like a top end stack here because of how expensive that is. But if you went like Hap, let's try not to leave out Tucker. We'll leave out PCA. If you just did that, you're at 52. So that's a little bit heavy. Probably do something more like that, or maybe we even go down to Shaw. Yeah, that's 54 still. If we go to Shaw, we get a little breathing room. 49 exactly with Shaw. That's reasonable. Hap, Tucker, Suzuki, Dansby in the middle, and then Shaw in the 8 spot. Shaw's at just 231, 320, 324, a home run, 5 steals. It's supposed to be a little bit better than this in the long term. 5.69 in the home run model. Against a pitcher like this, happy to take my chances. He's going to be lower owned than many of the other players. Fills third base just fine on a slate of this size, and he's cheap. He helps make things work. Still a very expensive stack, but worth at least playing around with and getting and seeing what you can get to. And then Reese McGuire in the bottom spot. Pair of home runs in his 15 plate appearances. Good for him. Last year, over 158, he hit 3, 209, 280, 295 with a 60 WRC plus. 1 home run in 206 plate appearances 2 years ago. A little bit better of a slash line that year. CJ Abrams is at 267, 338, 471 with 8 homers and 11 steals. You can consider him a star caliber shortstop, especially on a slate like this. 53.35. You're honestly getting a little discount from his talent. Same with James Wood, 57.39. It's a $4,000 player. It's probably a $6,000 player on a day where Tucker's at 63, PCA's at 6. If PCA's at 6, James Wood should definitely be at 6 as well. 283, 379, 561 with 16 home runs compared to PCA's 276, 314, 552 with 15 home runs. PCA has stolen 21 bags to Wood's 9, but you can't tell me those numbers aren't remarkably close. Wood's creator runs 60% better than average by WRC plus. PCA is only 40% better than average. So really, who should be more expensive here? Take the discount on James Wood. You're going up against an equally gettable pitcher once you get to that righty, and I would have no problem playing him for a plate appearance against Pomeranz. Nathaniel Lowe's cheap, 3,800, 2,900. In between the two stars, you get multi-position Ahmed Rosario for pretty cheap. 96 pretty effective plate appearances, 304, 333, 478. Has a 362 xWOB under the covers. 127 WRC plus. Just want to see. All right, this is second game back. He was back yesterday. I wasn't sure if this was his first one back. Oh, he hit a home run yesterday. Good for him. So Rosario settling back into a very good lineup position, if nothing else. Helps you average down those prices pretty effectively right out of the gate. You put it together with Nathaniel Lowe and you're off and running. You can even use Keibert Ruiz if you just wanted to top line this. Go those 5. Not the craziest thing in the world to use Ruiz in that stack. 43.60 a piece, so 4,400 a piece for the top 5 there. You do have the positional conflict with Bell and Lowe. Definitely would rather have Nathaniel Lowe most of the time. One for the roster spot. He's just been seeing totally out of his control, but he's been seeing and delivering on a great many RBI opportunities. He's got 40 ribbies on the season, despite being a 223, 292, 369 hitter so far. Just sees too many opportunities to be able to fail as far as driving those runs in. But you can see even with that, an 87 WRC plus. It's a large part of the reason we don't care about RBIs. Again, out of the hitter's control entirely. But it's been there, and those do count for some fantasy scoring. So between the two, I'd probably rather have him, even though Bell has technically a better barrel rate at 10.9 versus Lowe's 6.1. Lowe has more hard hits, and Bell is at 183, 279, 350 as a tiebreaker with an 82 WRC plus. Neither guy has been, or an 80 WRC plus. Neither guy's been good. Keibert, you're just buying cheap contact at the catcher position. It's not very high quality contact, 2.8% barrels, 32% hard hits, but 9.9% strikeouts, 3.8% walks. We're just buying that frequency of bat on ball that might make something happen if somebody appears on base. And at a position you have to fill on DK at 35, that's entirely reasonable if you're going to those other Nats. Just as a one-off, he's only okay. fits in, but very loosely because you don't expect a ton of upside for your money. But if I can get 3 balls in play out of anybody, I'll take the chance. Alex Cole, Luis Garcia Jr., and Robert Hassel III. Mix and match players down lineup. Nobody's been doing too poorly. 114, a 96, and a 60 WRC plus, but the 60 for Hassel comes over just his first 48 plate appearances, over which he has slash 250, 250, 333 with a homer and a stolen base. 306 xWOB is not exactly great, but an 8.6% barrel, 40% hard hit before he's really even got his feet on the ground. Hasn't drawn a walk yet, notably, is kind of something to at least look for. But a playable piece. 3,026, maybe a little bit unjustifiably priced on the DK slate. Should probably be under 3 till he can do something a little bit more productive, but playable. Garcia's been underperforming overall, but he's up to 258, 301, 405. A 371 xWOB is definitely something to point to. 8.9% barrels and 47% hard hits with 5 homers and 7 steals. He's rounded into form. He's looking more like the guy from last year. So definitely upside from down there, 4,200. It's top to bottom lineup that you can play on a small slate. Really your quality is in that range. And then you're mostly dealing with like mix and match options, but it's that kind of day. Cubs bats, Nats bats, neither of the pitchers. Not even really in a, if you had to kind of a situation. I guess if you had to, take the bullet. Because I don't want to have anything to do with Colin Ray coming in as a follower. And I can't recommend Jake Irvin in any kind of good conscience. He's not going to be high owned, but he's honestly too high priced at 71. He's definitely too high priced at 81. If you get the start like he put up against the Giants 2 starts ago, 8 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, I would wager right now that ends up being his best start of the year. He's had a couple decent ones in here, though. He did have a 9 strikeout game over 6 1/3 at Colorado, in which he only gave up 2 earned runs. They came on 2 solo homers. 6 strikeouts over 6 1/3 against Baltimore at Baltimore, 2 earned runs on 5 hits. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts and a walk. That was against Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, one of the most gettable teams in the league. Last time out at Arizona, 5 innings, 6 earned runs on 10 hits, no strikeouts, 1 walk. That's the Jake Irvin I know. Loosely, if you're just throwing darts in 150 lineups, on DraftKings would be where you'd want to play that. I do not see much upside. Guardians in the Bronx take on the Yankees. We get the Red Sox Yankees over the weekend. Be there on Saturday night. It's a night game. Excited about that. I was dreading checking the schedule, thinking like, it'll be like a 4:00 game in the middle of the afternoon while I'm trying to get everything projected for the site. But nope, did the right thing. Put it at night. Should be nice and easy to attend and cover everything for the website. Guardians with just a 3.23 implied total going up against Max. It's been one of the class lefties of the league this year. 1.92 ERA, 3.24 xFIP is notably higher, but still very, very clean. 23.4% strikeouts with a 5.4% walk, just 9.7% swinging and 26.6 on the CSW, but tremendous as far as a little bit of an uptick in strikeouts. Ability to keep the ball in the yard, 1.67% home runs on just a 7.1 degree average launch, has always had that as an attribute. Pitches very deep in a ball game, 75 innings in 12 starts. Him and Fromber are similar that way. You can not pencil in 7 innings, but both these guys go out there with the intent to pitch the 7th inning. A lot of pitchers don't do that these days. So it's an attribute that these guys definitely have, and it helps to pad the stats a little bit. Projects out very nicely here at 10,000, 10-1 on the FanDuel slate. I don't mind it at all going up against a version of the Guardians that has a 26% strikeout rate for this confirmed lineup. There are a couple small samples in there, of course, pushing that, like that 60% on David Fry, but he's a medium strikeout guy, 21-4 last year, 26-5 the year before. Some power from the right side, but we're less worried about that against Fried. So definitely upside there, upside for Ks for Max Fried, upside for 6-7 clean innings. Even if he gives up a run or 2, it's less than likely to be a major score for the Guardians. Vegas agrees with that. There is a bit of safety net factor with Max Fried. No guarantee, but little safety net factor for sure. Slate Ciccone is pitching to a 25.4% strikeout rate over his 3 starts, his 15 and a third innings. We do have to give him that. Last time out, that amounted to 3 strikeouts and 3 walks with 3 home runs allowed, 5 earned runs on 7 hits over 4 and a third against the Angels. Start before that, he was pretty good. 6 innings, 1 run ball against Detroit. That came on a solo homer. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. And the start before that at the Reds, home run allowed, 3 earned runs on 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, no walk. So the strikeouts have been there, but what's also been there for sure is the power, the home runs against. And you can see what that's doing here. That's just pushing a whole bunch of power upside to the Yankees and Mr. Aaron Judge, who's more than double the magic number and double all his teammates in the home run model, justifiably so. Ciccone, if we're looking back to last year, 13 starts, 77 innings, nearly a 5% home run rate. Did have an okay rating by Stuff Plus, but wasn't finding the strikeouts like he has in this teeny tiny sample so far this year. Maybe something about that did change. He's inducing a 14% swing with a 30.4% CSW. Obviously, those are notable upticks from last year's numbers in those departments as well, and anything we saw from him in 27 innings back in 2023. So maybe a little bit more to give in the long term, but I don't think that this is the day you want to find out. He comes into this game at Yankee Stadium on a nearly 90-degree day with a 17.8% barrel rate, 42.2% hard hits, 92.1 miles an hour of exit velo allowed, and a 7.46% home run rate in that tiny sample. Again, 3 of those did come in one game, but he's given up at least 1 in each of his 3 starts. Just so much downside here. Really difficult to see. We can find success against the Yanks, though, from time to time for strikeouts. So given that that's been a little bit of an attribute for him in this small sample, without much faith, maybe it's a dice roll kind of a play. I liked Luis Ortiz from last night a lot better. We didn't get to talk about him because there was no show yesterday. But going into last night's game, I mentioned it in Discord, given his strikeout stuff and his elite fastball whiff rates, I liked him for upside. I don't know that Ciccone gets away with it as much. It's playable, but it's thin. 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DraftKings. The DK price is workable for cheap options. He's no or not that much worse than most of the other cheap guys. But I would expect him to get pretty tattooed here. If you're going Guardians basket against Max, it is pretty challenging. They're definitely a better option to roster than the Pirates against Framber Valdez, but that's just because these Guardians are better than those Pirates, just man for man. The matchups are equally bad, but the ballpark works for the guards here a little bit too. Quan at 46-28 to start off their lineup, 312, 373, 433. Just continuing to do Stephen Kwan things up top. Dude's stellar at getting to first base, putting the ball in play. He has a little bit of pop in the bat now. 5 home runs on the board this year, a 133 WRC plus. Tremendous option to lead off the lineup, and honestly, not as expensive as he could be. They're pretty reasonable about Stephen Kwan. FanDuel is downright cheap. The 46 is a little bit different on DraftKings. That 28 is very workable on FanDuel. Ana Martinez at 33-26, 4 home runs, 4 steals, and 167 pretty effective plate appearances. Needs to get on base more. That xWOBA is pretty glaring, 84 WRC plus, so pretty effective might have been the wrong term. Effective through the front end of the slash line and the counting stats for fantasy, but maybe not in the long term in the full sense for the Guardians lineup here. 16 points below average for run creation, but he is very cheap, and he slots in at second base, hitting between Kwan and Jose Ramirez. So you know you're going to have an RBI opportunity here, or a likely one, and you have a run scoring opportunity going that way. So not bad. Jose Ramirez at 56-36 in Yankee Stadium. I could take the upside against anybody, Max Fried included. 11 home runs, 16 steals, slashing 327, 382, 550. He's a superstar, just looking exactly like Jose Ramirez. Fry does have some pop. He's got a 100% hard hit rate over his batted ball events in 5 plate appearances. Looks like he's got 1 hit so far. 14 home runs in 392 chances last year. Was pretty effective overall, though. 263, 356, 448. I was remembering that slash line a little bit weaker than that. Year before, 113 plate appearances, 4 home runs, 238, 319, 416, but a 106 WRC plus. But the power's definitely legit from Fry. 7.4% barrels, 37.4% hard hits last year, 12, 7, 39 for the year before in that smaller sample. So the truth probably lands somewhere in the like 8 and change, maybe 9% barrel rates. Maybe he pushes up toward a 40% hard hit rate in a full sample. What would be interesting to see would be that slash line in a full sample. Because again, that nearly 400 plate appearances, better in that department than I remembered it last year. 29% better than average by WRC plus as well. Interesting enough bet to add back into this team. 2 position eligible on FanDuel, catcher and first base eligible on DraftKings. If you're using him, honestly, pop him at catcher. For one, you avoid the positional conflict with Carlos Santana in the next spot. And for 2, it just fills a void at the catcher position and allows you to access a better first baseman than either of those guys from a different lineup. Santana's been good this year, though. Shouldn't really tear him down. 7% barrels, 42% hard hits. Doing his thing in terms of strikeouts and walks, 17-7 and 13-4, right in line, and technically, an improved walk rate from the last 2 seasons. Getting on base at a great 366 clip, creating runs 23% better than average. He's hit 7 home runs, just a 138 ISO, not a ton of power on display, but still has the ability to drive the ball, and most importantly, just creating runs and run scoring opportunities. Gabriel Arias, mix and match quality who can definitely put bat on ball, but a flawed hitter with a very high strikeout rate. Somebody that Max Fried can definitely exploit in this lineup a few times. 32-24. If you're just home run hunting, it's not a great pitcher to do that against. The ballpark obviously will help. You get a fly ball in the air at Yankee Stadium, it can go. But it's a more limited spot for a guy like Arias down lineup. Same thing with Bo Naylor, where we're really just looking for power. We know there's a ton of strikeouts. Max not good for targeting for walks either. So, that attribute kind of out the window with Bo Naylor as well here. Don't really like the spot for him. Jhonkensy Noel, a lot of strikeouts, major power upside from the right side, but just not the right pitcher to throw a guy like that against. 4.45 in the home run model. Even Jose Ramirez is at 4.96 against Max. And then Willie Wilson down the bottom of the lineup, 205, 311, 282, over 46 plate appearances. Keep on trucking, guy. Yankees lineup, Trent Grisham, 4,400, 3,100. Honestly, I don't know what to make of the pricing. I was going to say he's not priced up enough, but he probably is because it is still Trent Grisham. And the 13 home runs are nice, but he's already down to 244, 343, 500. The back end is stellar still. 256 ISO. 378 XWOB was great. 140 WRC plus, great. I just am waiting for it all to turn into a pumpkin. I feel like we know that this hitter's not this guy, even with the declining average and everything. But he continues to get it done fairly effectively with the bat. Going up against Ciccone from the left side in Yankee Stadium, what's not to like? 10 plus on the home run model, and he's cheap. Easily better than just another outfielder. And in Yankee stacks, kind of a priority because he helps with the pricing. There's a guy in this lineup that is the home run pick of the day. It's not Mr. Aaron Judge at 22.19 in the home run model. It's not Trent Grisham in the leadoff spot, nor is it Cody Bellinger, nor Jazz Chisholm 2 spots further down. It's Mr. Ben Rice in the 2-hole. I don't think I've used Rice despite his 12 home runs so far this season. 18% barrel, 57.9% hard hits, a 272 ISO, a monster 416 xWOBA lurking under the covers. 23.4% strikeouts and 8.8% walks. He's cut strikeouts from the sample that we had from last year. He's also lost a little bit in walks. I do think he could push the walks back up a little bit because that was an attribute for him on his way up. So that'll be interesting to watch going forward, but he's been excellent at getting on base, has obvious power from the left side going up against a guy who just gives nothing but power up. Love Ben Rice here. Any of the Yankee lefties, plus Aaron Judge, plus anything that makes salary work should be a way to go here with the Yanks. Judge has 21 homers, 389, 485, 752, and it does not say Judge on the back of his jersey, but it says 99, and that's all you need. Cody Bellinger, 45, 32, not all that high price for a guy who can do what he does out there. 8 home runs, 252, 328, 441, creating runs 15% better than average, can swipe you a bag, can hit you a homer in Yankee Stadium, play stellar defense wherever you ask him to go play. 10.86 in the home run model. Doesn't even strike out. Drawing a ton of walks this year. 16.8, 10.3. Love the option. 10.1% barrel rate, up from 6.3 last year, 6.1 the year before. Jazzy's back in the lineup. 5,000, 3,400. And it's nice and warm today. Jazz doesn't like the cold. Hit the ground running. I think he hit a home run in his first game back the other day. Love the power upside. Another lefty bat. Second base eligible. What's not to like about Jazz? 5,000, 3,400. Maybe you could argue with the DK price, but everybody else on the lineup other than the Judge is below 5,000 against Slade Ciccone. That's kind of a price issue. It's like, let's say you wanted those two. Let's just top five it. What's our top five price? 5,040. So who's that we were doing it with in the last game? The Cubbies. The Cubs are more expensive against Jake Irvin than the Yankees are against Slade Ciccone. It's close, but they are. Anthony Volpe at 42-31, mix and match quality, 7 home runs, 7 steals, pretty mediocre slash line. Does have pop in the bat for sure. Has been better against lefties than righties. Little bit of a challenge at shortstop for the money, but a short slate. You can easily go there. I'd probably rather have Dansby Swanson if it was just between those two shortstops to put a point on it, but he's fine. Justin Dominguez at 4,000, 3,000, 6 home runs on the board, 8 stolen bases, 346 on base with a 173 ISO, 333 xWOBA, and creating runs 19% better than average so far this season. Volpe, by the way, at 11% better than average despite the struggles. Just speaks to the quality up and down. But I like Dominguez here. He's definitely been on a roll lately too. He's up to 9.1% barrels, 50.9% hard hits. So the better part of the last month or so, he's been hitting the ball pretty effectively. Austin Wells, a lot of power from the catcher spot for a fair price, 4,300, 11% barrels with 48% hard hits. He's hit 9 home runs, but everything else about him, the slash line has been a little bit 208, 280, 435. Does have the 226 ISO for the results. You know, when he connects, he definitely drives the ball. Striking out a little bit more, walking a little bit less so far this year. Something to keep an eye on there. But there's definitely high quality there and could be the last hitter that Slade Ciccone sees tonight. We could go 8 deep with 3-4 home runs on the board like the Yanks have done a couple times already this year. And Ciccone's out of the game in the first. I'm not actually predicting that, but I'm just, excited about this spot for the Yankees. It looks like a good one. Ozzy Peraza rounding things off. 159, 245, 318 has not been much of a major league hitter. This goes Yankees bats, Max Fried, Guardians bats, which is not a good spot, and then Slade Ciccone. Actually, that probably ought to be the other way around, just because it's such a short slate pitching-wise. Ciccone above the Guardians, but neither thing is at all appealing. Last game on the FanDuel slate already. Galaxy Edits says, where's the link to join? Where is it? There are plenty of links in the description below this video. If you scroll down there, there are links to get to our Discord, which is free. There's links to the Twitter handle, which is @rotoscouts. There's links to the website, which is rotoscouts.com for all your projection needs. Baseball, basketball, hockey right now, football right around the corner. Under $1 a day gets you access to every single thing that hits that website. No per sport nonsense, no hidden fees, no surprise upticks or changes. Under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly plans available. Check it out now at rotoscouts.com. Give our guys over at acemine.io some love for sim and optimization needs. Promo code rotoscouts get you 20% off your first month over there. Give our guy Gundacker some love as well. Find his YouTube channel. I never remember the name of the website. It's like MLB Grind, DFS Grind. Apologies, Gun. I'll learn it at some point. Search Gundacker, you'll find him. Jack Leiter going up against the Tampa Bay Rays with a 4.60 implied total. We get another cookie cutout of Yankee Stadium, just transplanted down to Florida. There is Florida rain in the area, passing storms, thunderstorm blows through town, everything gets wet, and then 10 minutes later it's sunny and humid again. Just going to be the case all summer long down there for their home games, but should help the ball travel out of this ballpark pretty aggressively. We do have a fairly high total with a lot of power on the Rays side, a lot of quality lefties to throw at Jack Leiter. Leiter's not bad. 3.66 ERA, but a 4.93 xFIP, walking way too many at nearly 12%, not striking out enough at 18.6. But you can see what Stuff Plus thinks of the arsenal. 10 points above average, pushing 11 points above average. Kid's got talent, still finding his way at the major league level, though. That's where we kind of run into the problem because he's pitching in the major leagues tonight. I don't know that he's here too early. It seems like they're just kind of letting him figure things out at this level now. 9 starts on the board, 46 2/3 so far this year. Couple spots of effectiveness, couple spots of letdown. Last time out, 5 2/3 clean, 3-hitter, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks against the Cards. Relatively comparable opponent. They do different things, but I would say they're equally like mid-level to the Rays. Rays probably have a little bit more power, more dangerous lefties. Start before that, he faced the White Sox, 2 earned runs on 6 hits, allowed a homer, 3 strikeouts, and 5 walks. Kind of a downside game there. 3 earned runs, but went 7 innings against Houston, kind of in the middle. 3 earned runs on just 3 hits, but struck out 4, walked 2. Not a great outing, but not a bad one. It's kind of the upside days we've gotten from him. Had a 6-run game against Seattle back at the beginning of May. 4-run game the start after that. Day after would have been a challenge. Start after that against the Red Sox at Fenway. 2 decent enough offenses, though. You can kind of forgive them. But it is a pitcher with growing pains. What you like there is the $6,500 DraftKings price. For 82 on FanDuel, you're really just kind of throwing darts and doing it for the sake of doing it. There are strikeouts on board here, but it's not like he's been punching out hitters with any kind of regularity. So I wouldn't really ride on that. You can play him, but it's a lot looser on FanDuel. DraftKings, there is value there, especially on a day where most of your bottom end starters, especially if Pepio fails, then it's just same down the board, and Leiter's the cheapest among them. So might as well. I prefer Pepio at 68 on the other side of this game. And it's not probably as close as that 1.5 of DK projection might suggest. Probably like Pepio a little bit more than Leiter, more than that than Leiter. But as far as like compared to these two, I have no issues with taking a discount on Jack Leiter compared to these two. Same thing down here. I'd rather have Jack Leiter at 65 than Jake Irvin at 71, for sure. You do have Liberator on the board at 8. Playable spot, but significantly more expensive and no guarantee of upside there. And then you're dealing with the top pitchers. So again, if Leiter's offense can get to the opposing pitcher at all, that's going to really even this slate out in a hurry and cause some problems. Might be a good day to consider the double spend up on DraftKings if you can get there, but then you're probably blocking yourself off from having any Yanks, having any Cubbies, and so on. For Pepio, 19.9% strikeout rate, a 3.21 ERA with a 4.14 xFIP. So you can see, some similarities across here, but Pepio's been much more efficient with the walks, just 7.1%, a 1.16 whip so far, 10.2% swinging strikes. I do think the Pepio's got a little bit more believable strikeout stuff as well to work with here. You do have plenty of strikeouts through this Rangers lineup. They are, as I mentioned before, still a very hard-hitting club. Look at all these guys with double-digit barrel rates, respectable hard hit rates. There's name brands up and down this lineup. It's just they're all underperforming at the same time and were for the most part last year. But there is definitely still hard hit galore in this lineup. So it's in no way a safe spot for Pepio. He's given up an 8.8% barrel rate on a 16.4 degree average launch. It's amounted to 3.5% home runs, 90 plus on the exit velo, 43.9% hard hits on that kind of a launch. That is a targetable pitcher for the power upside. And it plays up in this park just as badly as it does against Jack Leiter. So Pepio not safe outside of if we want to count in the fact that the Rangers have been scuffling for the better part of the last year and a half. If you're going to Rangers bats, let's see if we got their confirmed in. We did. How about that? All the other ones are up on the website already. Oh, we got the Royals and the Cards already too. Beautiful. Grab those two while we're here. All right, confirm Rangers lineup now. Looks pretty much the same as what we had. Adolis Garcia back in the lineup. I think he played. Did he play yesterday? I think he did. Was getting some mental health days there. Wasn't great for the old dynasty team this past week. Adolis got like 4 straight days off for mental health. Luis Robert got 2 days off for mental health and then was taking batting practice today and popped the ball up, hit the top of the cage, came back down like in Rookie of the Year, bounced off his head, and he was out of the lineup again today. We also had Francisco Lindor broke his pinky toe. Brandon Woodruff at the end of yet another rehab stint hurt himself again. Elbow contusion. Back on the IL now. It's been a painful week for the Dynasty team as far as just games played. But anyway, Adolis is back. He has not stopped hitting the ball hard. He's one of those guys with that double digit 14.2% barrels, 49.3% hard hits is stellar, and it's technically up from last year in a bad year. It's down in the barrel department from 2 years ago when he hit 39 home runs. The hard hits are right in line with that. The walks, the strikeouts, all pretty much in line. The walks are down by half from 2 years ago. Strikeouts right around where they were. Walks are down year over year from last year as well, but they had already come down somewhat. 212, 258, 369, a 158 ISO, 7 home runs. None of that reflects the quality of contact that he makes. Just a lot of swing and miss in his game. There's a lot of meh overall in this game right now. And it's been difficult, but he's very, very cheap at 37.27. So if you're going here, if you're home run hunting in this ballpark, Adolis remains a very playable option for that. 8.52 in the home run model from down lineup. Jake Berger's also down there. Everything I just said about Adolis almost exactly applies to Jake Berger as well. 213, 245, 388, 322 XWOB, 174 ISO. None of this is in line. They have the exact same WRC plus, same total of home runs, almost the same batting average, almost the same on base. These guys are having the same problem at the same time. 8.99. They also almost have the same pretty good mark in the home run model today for the same discounted price, $3,300, $2,900 for a guy of Jake Berger's power in this ballpark against a kid who does give up premium contact and power. If you're building more than one lineup, I think Texas is a reasonable team to consider for a stack. There is plenty of power. I think they'll be lower owned than a lot of the other interesting squads on the slate. And Adolis and Jake Berger will probably be low owned within the Texas stack because of their struggles, because of where they're hitting in the lineup. Just makes them more and more appealing in my book. Up top, Josh Smith at 41.29 plays every position on FanDuel, only a shortstop on DraftKings, one of the bigger contrasts in DFS. 261, 333, 94. He's been effective. This is who Josh Smith is, though. He's around a 260 hitter, around a 315 to 330 on base type guy who can create some runs from time to time. He can even go deep every now and then, but he doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. He's a moderate strikeout guy who draws a fair amount of walks, so he's a contributor, but he's in no way a star. What he is very, very flexible on the blue site. DraftKings, he's not the best way to burn shortstop, but there's only a couple of really appealing shortstops, so I think it's fine on a short slate. Wyatt Langford's down to just 47. Corey Seager's down to just 45. They're both carrying 14+% barrel rates, 50+% hard hit rates. They strike out plenty, 25.2 and 22%, but those are two star caliber talents. Seager over just 132 chances this year at 258, 303, 435. We know we're pretty far off the mark with those numbers. 6 home runs, a 177 ISO, still creating runs 6% better than average, and carrying a 377 xWOBA. The 365 xWOBA that Wyatt Langford has also tells you the truth about that hitter. He's hit 11 home runs, stolen 11 bases in 222 plate appearances. That covers up some of the bumps as far as DFS goes. But there's a much better hitter lurking here than 236, 315, 446. 210 ISO, 114 WRC plus, even with some poor results in there. Wait till things truly start working out for Wyatt Langford. He's going to surge. Josh Young is very cheap at 36. Cheap enough at 3,000 on FanDuel for third base. Over 208 plate appearances, he's hit 7 home runs, 267, 313, 421, carrying a 333 xWOBA, creating runs 8% better than average. Maybe he's not a star. He played like a star 2 years ago, as we've highlighted a few times already this year. But he should, just for what he's done over 208 plate appearances, should just be a little bit more highly priced on DraftKings, where they give away salary to a lot of these guys for no good reason. It's just kind of weird. I will never figure out how they catch some, don't catch others. I don't get it. 22-22 across sites for Alejandro Osuna. 235, 435, 235 so far, creating runs 18% better than average in a teeny tiny sample. In 184 plate appearances down in AAA, 146 in AA, 38 in AAA, 2 home runs, 9 steals, striking out just 15.8, walking 11.4, though those did spike to 21.1, but also 23.7% walks in those 38 plate appearances in AAA, pretty much a negligible sample. At AA, that was 14.4% strikeouts, 8.2% walks. Overall minor league slash line 279, 386, 416, 125 WRC plus. What he doesn't do is hit home runs all that effectively. He did have 18, 9 at high A, 9 at AA last year in the minors. I question whether any power actually translates to the show. We'll see. Kind of a work in progress in that department. But definitely seems like a kid who can get on base, steal you a bag, and has gotten on base effectively over his first handful of plate appearances so far. So I think for the cheap price in the heart of the lineup, you can kind of go there and have at least a little bit of reliability for some upside. Marcus Semien at 2,800 across the board, 4 home runs, 5 stolen bases. He's at the Mendoza line, 241 pretty bad plate appearances, 200, 290, 271. Ouch. Where have you gone, Marcus Semien? We have seen minor signs of life. I'd say he's still underwater, still doesn't have his hands on the little floaty ring, but maybe somebody threw him a straw, not even a snorkel. He's got like a straw, one of those little bendy straws, and it's got a rip in it. But maybe we're getting some oxygen down to Marcus Semien. Jonah Heim in the final spot, 33-26. Mix and match quality catcher. He does have 7 home runs on the board. Can turn on one from time to time, but never going to hit for a ton of power. Meant to highlight that one. He's just playable for premium contact. He has been lower strikeout in the past. So you get a little bit of consistency as far as getting a batted ball event or two for the cheap price at the catcher spot. On the Rays side, Pablo hit the IL. I didn't see that. OMG Lowles is here. What's going on, buddy? Off work early, watching live. Love it. Coming up on 20-6, we'll be out of here in the next couple of minutes. 1 game to go through after this. 6:40 start. 5 games DraftKings, 4 games FanDuel. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk Rays. The low Lau combo up top, definitely always playable, always appealing. Going up against Jack Leiter here, getting some lefty quality in this ballpark is always a good idea. Brendan Lau checking in at just 2,800 somehow on FanDuel. That's a mistake price. He's hit 12 home runs in 232 plate appearances. This is vintage Brendan Lau as far as I'm concerned. A 200 ISO, 359 xWOB under the covers, 13% barrels, 46% hard hits. This is what Brendan Lau's on this planet to do. I'm not sure why FanDuel is behind the curve on that one. 49 on DraftKings, not incorrect. Could be a little higher. Josh Lowe at 51.33 with Lau as cheap as he is. I'm happy to include Josh Lowe at those prices. 303, 370, 500, doing Josh Lowe things up at the top of the lineup. A few stolen bases on the board already. 152 WRC plus. Excellent source of on-base run creation. A little bit of power in his bat as well. Not a bad combo up top. Even if you're just looking at it as a 2-man, on either site on a short slate to build just some funky lineups, get a little different while using some maybe chalky pieces. That's not a bad combo of prices. Yandy Diaz builds into that as well, 3,900. If you want to stretch to 3 guys on DraftKings, that would be my next choice. 242, 288, 398, but 8 home runs on the board, a 345 xWOBA making tremendous contact under the cover, 9.1% barrels, 53.3% hard hits. Despite the flaws in the results, he's making excellent contact. He's not striking out. He's not drawing quite as many walks as he has in the past. That's hurt the on base, but there's tons and tons of upside. He's hitting third at a cheap price. You would have to sacrifice Jonathan Aranda on DraftKings to do that. On FanDuel, you can fortunately have both of them, and they're both cheap, 29 and 3,000 for those 2 hitters. Get the lefty big bat from Aranda in your lineup behind those guys. Love the premium contact upside. 10.6% barrels, 53.8% hard hits. He's hit 7 home runs so far this year. A 414 on base as well to just bolster the upside. Getting on base via the walk at an 11% clip, striking out 23.8% of the time, but that's fine offset against those walks, and just mashing when he makes contact. 392 xWOBA, 170 WRC plus, over 210 plate appearances. It's turning into a very real season from Jonathan Aranda. Junior Caminero, masher, 11.7% barrels, 50% hard hits, sub 20% strikeout rate from a second-year player, 4.7% walks. Kid's been terrific. 14 home runs on the board, a 249 ISO, 124 WRC plus. Should start getting on base a little bit more as he pushes the walks up, which will make him even better. 348 xWOB under the covers tells us he's got a little bit more to give. Cameron Misner's kind of a mix and match quality bat. 181 pretty mediocre plate appearances, giving you some counting stats along the way, 5 homers, 7 steals, but a lower end lefty bat. Out of the lefties, I greatly prefer these guys. He'll be lower owned, though, as a lower end option, and that's why he's also cheaper. Christopher Morel, love the premium contact, big fan of the swing. Comes with very glaring flaws, 36.4% strikeout rates, most of which, not most glaringly, most of which. What am I, that U.S. Americans girl? Gunnar Henderson home run. Speaking of the U.S. Americans girl, what a day on social media today, huh? not to get political, but if you guys follow politics or just follow the world at large, whew, wild day on social media. I think most of you know where I come down on these things. So Morel, big fan at 3,500, 2,400, but we get a lot of zeros from Chris Morel. What we also get is tons of premium contact. He's only hit 3 homers. He's only carrying a 133 ISO, so the results have not been there. Been problematic to have Chris Morel in your lineup a lot of nights, but there's still tons of upside. And going up against this version of Jack Leiter, I could see it coming through. I could also see Leiter stuff coming through against the swing like Chris Morel, though, and a couple Ks in Leiter's pocket from him. So back and forth situation there. Taylor Walls, Danny Jansen down lineup, mix and match pieces both. Danny can hit you the occasional home run. He's got 4 of them as a cheap catcher option over 146 plate appearances. Taylor Walls can steal you the occasional base, but he doesn't really get on base enough. 183, 272, 221 so far, but 7 stolen bases when he has gotten on base. This goes raised bats on either site. Ryan Pepio on DraftKings. Rangers bats on either site. Jack Leiter on DraftKings. Ryan Pepio on FanDuel. Jack Leiter on FanDuel. And I probably did Pepio on FanDuel a disservice, actually, by putting him below Leiter on DraftKings. Probably Pepio on FanDuel above Leiter on DraftKings. But I probably like the Rangers bats a little bit better. Because I think on FanDuel, the answer is probably just pay up at pitcher. Like you can easily go to Pepio here, but you're not really saving significantly. I guess you are over 10-1, 10-3. That's enough. 1,100, 1,300. Because these two aren't on that FanDuel board. So yeah, there's enough of a discount there where you can get a little bit more aggressive about it than I was just about to suggest. I feel like I still kind of want to let people have that a little bit more, though. He's got to be popular at that price. Unless just 50-50 eating the chalk on the 2 expensive guys and nobody's going to anybody else. Let's see how this breaks down. That'll actually be a really important deciding factor with Pepio. Well, that's downright interesting. What is our... Without giving the numbers away as usual, looking at ownership projections over at RG. And the 2 obvious guys are the top of the board. And then, interestingly, this, I guess, price-driven. Yeah, Pepio projected as the 5th most popular pitcher. After him, there's a gap down to the low single digits for the bottom 4 guys. But kind of interesting where he is. That swings it for me that I would say you can get, actually, I'll change it and say Pepio on both sites above the Rangers bats, given that he's projected for that kind of ownership on FanDuel. That makes him a little bit better at this price versus this field. So raised bats on either site, Pepio on either site, Jack Leiter on Rangers bats, Jack Leiter DraftKings, then Jack Leiter FanDuel. And since Leiter is going to be more expensive at that price than Pepio is at that price against what is currently the more dangerous of these 2 teams, I think you know where I stand. That's your FanDuel slate. Last game up for DK. Second game of the Royals and Cards doubleheader. Nothing changed about the pitchers, right? Yeah, Ragans and Liberatore. So Ragans last pitched on May 16th. He's been out for 20 days. He made a rehab appearance on the 31st. Went 3 2/3, faced 18 hitters. 6 strikeouts, gave up a home run, 4 earned on 7 hits. We don't really care about the results. That was a double-A. Just about throwing pitches, getting stretched back out. Anything that happens to a pitcher like him in a minor league rehab start is mere happenstance. You don't sweat it. Nice to see that he threw 18, that he faced 18 hitters and presumably threw a bunch of pitches. I don't have the pitch count in front of me. But I did give him a little bit of a limitation. Just coming back, I don't think they need to get aggressive about the innings here. He is a pitcher who can go deep into ball games, though. Wasn't really working deep prior to the injury. 5 innings in, 2 straight starts, allowed 4 earned runs in each of them, struck out 7, struck out 8, a 5-inning start over which he struck out 11 of 20 White Sox. No runs on 3 hits, walked 2. Just 3 innings, 4 innings with 4 runs and 5 runs prior to those two with at the end of April. So hadn't been working overly deep into games anyway, but does have that as an attribute in general. So given that, given the groin injury, given the first start back, 1 rehab start, I have it short. But even short, it's projecting out what looks like a decent projection for 9,093. Where you run into trouble, like I said at the beginning of the show, is I think that's also your ceiling. I think it's a fair median projection in the terms of like if he was going a full start, but I think hitting that number is probably as far down the line as he takes you. I don't think you have much beyond this. And you do have plenty beyond this with Framber, with Max on the right day with Ryan Pepio and similar. So I don't love Raggins here going up against a gettable enough cards lineup, but there are some low strikeout guys in this lineup. Ignore the 14-9 down bottom. That's obviously inflated a little bit by these two numbers. How about Joe Pozo? 54 pretty good plate appearances so far. 116 WRC plus, 1.9% strikeout, 1.9% walk. That's nothing but contact. 34.6% contact with no barrels so far, but he's hit a homer. 321, 333, 434. What a player. I legit know very little about Joe Pozo in general. About to be 28 years old. Had a stint back in 2021 with the Rangers. Hit a home run over 77 plate appearances. He was effective. 284, 312, 378 in the tiny sample, but an 89 WRC plus. Went to the A's organization, played in AAA, never made it out, but 18 home run season as a 26-year-old in AAA in 23, 15 home run season in 361 plate appearances in 24 as a AAA 27-year-old. Had 2 on the board in AAA this year before getting the call with the Cards here. Mix and match quality bat down there with Mr. Pozo. So you can kind of, again, ignore those strikeouts, but you do have Nolan Arenado believably in the low double digits as far as strikeout goes. You know, previously that was in the mid-teens. He's improved that while being more deficient at everything else, or less substantial at everything else, whatever you want to say. Ivan Herrera has been pretty low strikeout so far. Brendan Donovan's always pretty low strikeout. Lars Nootbaar, around 19% like usual. So it's not a premium strikeout matchup for Raggins. You get a little bit of lingering worries about limitation there. Overall, though, you're talking about a guy with a 37.7% strikeout rate, a 14.7% swinging, 31.7% CSW, 108 marked by Stuff Plus. He's good at suppressing power despite a little bit of premium contact, a fly ball trajectory, 4.53 ERA, but a sparkling 2.20 xFIP that's closer to the real number. Cole Raggins is absolutely tremendous, and that's why he projects out fairly well with under 5 innings as his projection. I gave him 4.5, just the model break point. So could easily go a little bit more than that. 5 full, I think, is reflected in that same projection. But beyond that, I really question. I get skeptical about whether we get him out there for a 6th inning. Royals bats against Liberator. Maybe a little bit interesting, but he's been effective this year. 3.08 ERA with a 3.37 xFIP, not walking anybody at just 3.5%, 21.5% strikeout rate. Not like he's been blowing guys away, but does have an 11% swinging at 29.5% CSW. These numbers should not be ignored. He can push that strikeout rate up a little bit. It's a very effective strikeout to walk already, just a 1.06 whip. But given these two numbers, it wouldn't shock me if he was able to push up over the next 11 starts to like a mid-20s, 24.5%, something like that. Just gain a few extra points. Look just that much sharper overall. 3.08 ERA, 3.37 xFIP, just under the mark by Stuff Plus. But we've seen, some pitchers that matters more, some pitchers that matters less, depending on the nature of your arsenal. He has given up some hard hits, some barrel. 12.8 degree average launch is kind of in the middle. It's resulted in just 1.54% home runs so far. That could easily have been higher. Last year it was 3.07 in 6 starts, 86 total innings. Similar numbers for strikeouts, similar number on the swinging strikes, but you note the CSW with a only slightly higher swinging strike rate is up by 3.5 percentage points. So call the half off there. It's up by 3 points of called strike. That's, again, noteworthy. Something to watch. He's gettable, but he's also been very effective. What he's got on the other side, unfortunately, though, is a very low strikeout Royals opponent. Even taking the 0 out of there, we're at 17.6%, not 15.6. Jack hasn't struck out yet. I think he doubled earlier today. Forgive the stats. They're not caught up to the first game of the doubleheader that just ended a little while ago. So Jack, I do believe, has a hit now. Everybody's numbers will be slightly different. This is where they started today. I do think you could play Royals if I'm picking sides as far as bats go on DraftKings. I do think you go Royals here rather than Cards. I'd rather draw against Liberator than against Cole Ragans. But you can see for yourself, 370 implied total for them, just a 389 on the Cards side. Cards went off the other day when Gundacker and I both didn't love their total at, what was it, 492, I think. Just looked too high, and I think they put up 7+ on that night. But today, we got them below 4. For whatever Ragans is going to pitch, I like them to keep them pretty much off the board. And it's not a team I love stacking anyway. So I'd much rather get to some Royals bats that I actually do like here. And I think they're the more talented squad. Jonathan India, 32.25, very playable across the board. 3 positions on FanDuel. Second base is ideal on DraftKings if you're going there. You're just looking at him as a correlated score, as we've been talking about, I feel like, since opening day and every single one of those 234 plate appearances. Just his ability to get to first base is why he's here. But typically he used to give us home runs and stolen bases along the way. 14, 15 home runs, 20 stolen bases. We've got nothing in those departments. He's getting on at a 333 clip. He's only scored 22 runs, 13 ribbies. He's not even really contributing as much in those departments. 84 WRC plus kind of sticks out. But you continue going back there as long as he's at the top of their lineup because he connects directly to Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, and so on. So there is quality there, and we know he's a better player than this. Take the discount on the price. He's perfectly fine. Bobby Witt at 55.38, superstar, 7 homers, 20 steals, 346 on base, creating runs 26% better than average, mashing the ball when he connects, very low strikeout, medium walk rate. Love the option, probably your best shortstop on this slate. Garcia at just 45, 3,000. Honestly, the sites haven't fully caught up to the production, I don't think. Strikeouts at 15.5 to 8.8% walks. He's pushed the walks up a little bit, cut the strikeouts a little bit. He's connecting with the ball slightly better. The hard hits are essentially the same as they were last year, down from 2 years ago, but the barrels are up a little. He's found moderate success, 5 home runs in 239 plate appearances, a 154 ISO, but he's creating runs 35% better than average. He's stolen 11 bases, carrying a 341 on xWOBA under the covers to suggest there's a little bit more to come. When you've got underlying numbers like all these, there's a lot of reason to believe in the hitter. If nothing else, he's hitting for average. He's getting on base. He's creating situations, and he's a correlated scoring machine. Vinny at 32.27. We've talked about his surge since the end of April. Just been killing it. 17.4% strikeout, 6.3% walks. Both those numbers heading in the right directions. 8.4% barrels, 44.7% hard hits. We are not off the mark over the last month plus with Vinny, and he's still only at 32.27. 8 home runs on the board. We're coming up on his 100 and getting over 100 WRC plus at 96. We'll get there eventually. Love the option at 32.27, even lefty against Matthew Liberator. Sal Perez, 3,200, 2,600, a right-handed masher at catcher against a gettable lefty who allows contact. Sal has a 12.6% barrel, 46% hard hits. He's hit 4 home runs. That's the good. He's got a 351 xWOBA. That's the encouraging. Everything else has been pretty bad. 229, 267, 350. A 67 WRC plus is way off the mark, but everything else is pretty much in line. I expect Sal to roar at some point. Caglianone, masher of a minor league player, definitely in play for shares, 35-25, first base and outfield. You probably want him in the outfield more often than not so that you can also include Vinny. And on FanDuel, that's the way I would build with him at Vinny at first, him in the outfield, and then a different guy at util. You've also got 4 guys with first base eligibility on this team on FanDuel. So there's a lot to work with, many multi-position options, a lot of ability to click guys around and create flexibility to use this stack in conjunction with a lot of different teams too. Mark Canha at 25-21 can always get on base, help create some runs. Right now, just the 76 WRC plus over 82 plate appearances. We know that he's quite a bit better than that. Also has a little bit of power in that bat. No home runs so far this year, just a .028 ISO, but we've seen him drive the ball more effectively than that over time. Nick Lofton, Freddie Furman. Freddie is typically a good option for bat on ball, some light contact, but high-end BABIP-focused results. as far as just getting on base. This year so far, it's resulted in 243, 284, 301, just a 59 WRC plus. But last year, 271, 319, 366, substandard WRC plus despite that slash line, but still effective as far as just base hits, couple of free points from the catcher spot. Year before had a positive WRC plus at 108. Also had a 180 ISO, hit 9 home runs, slash 281, 321, 461. So capable of contributing from down there for a cheap price. On the Cardinals side, Lars Nootbaar up at the top of the lineup. Still my favorite Cards hitter. 8 home runs on the board, a 351 on base, 355 xWOBA, 116 WRC plus. Doesn't really strike out, draws plenty of walks, 19 and change strikeouts, 13.1% walks this year, right in line with expectations from the last few seasons. Put an excellent bat on ball, 10% barrels, 52.8% hard hits. Both those numbers slightly up from last year. It's just not against Cole Ragans. Difficult. Lefty also. Don't love it. Mason Wynn at 39, 29, 6 home runs, a decent enough slash line at 281, 356, 438. It's been one of the better players for this team this year. Donovan's been tremendous. He's been their best bat overall this season. 321, 384, 462. Just 4 homers, 3 steals. He's never going to be a massive power hitter. He can turn on one. He's more of a doubles, hit the ball in the gap, don't really strike out, put good wood on the ball kind of a player. Draws the occasional walk. His creator runs 40% better than average doing that so far this season. He's been tremendous. 44 is a little aggressive, but it's fine. 29, same thing on FanDuel. Multi-position eligible, at least on both sides, but second base is where you want him on DK. You can move him around a little bit on FanDuel. Wilson for 4,000, given the 11% barrels, the nearly 44% hard hits. You expect more upside. 362 xWOBA to help support that point. 6 home runs is kind of a meh total for him, over 239 chances. It's also a lower total than you would want from a day-to-day first baseman. He still remains better when he had catcher eligibility, but on a slate like this, extremely, extremely playable if you're going Cards. The unfortunate part is the tiebreaker would be the matchup, and that's Cole Ragans. So deficient spot, but playable if you're going Cards already. I'd probably rather have, if I had to decide between the two, which positionally you don't, but Wilson Contreras for 4,000 versus Ivan Herrera for 48. I'd probably lean the veteran and go Contreras. Good as Herrera's been, 326, 411, 558, 5 home runs. He's priced up a lot for what he's already done. The kid's good. He had a lot of prospect pedigree coming up, but I don't know that he's justifiably priced at 48. 28 on FanDuel, where you don't actually need catcher, is a lot more playable. It's also the same price as Contreras. Arenado with that long loopy swing. He's not striking out. 11.1% Ks, just 8.5% walks, just 4.8% barrels, 33.7% hard hits. I said it before, I say it again. It's over and it ain't coming back. 6 home runs on the board in 235 plate appearances, a 142 ISO, 297 xWOBA, 86 WRC plus. Ouch. And then Ryan Velarde and Victor Scott at the bottom of the lineup. Ryan Velarde, not Randy Velarde. Velarde's another guy who's 26. Debuted back in 2021 with Colorado for 7 plate appearances, over which he went over. 49 plate appearances in 2024 with Detroit after a couple years in the minors. And then 1 plate appearance so far as a 26-year-old in St. Louis. In the interim, he had 192 AAA plate appearances this year for St. Louis's organization, 5 homers, 5 steals. Decent enough slash line, 195 ISO, 125 WRC plus. Last year, 13 homers, 20 steals. That's all last year. 13 homers, 20 steals for Detroit's AAA team as a 25-year-old. Year before, just 6 homers, 7 steals for Pittsburgh's team as a 24-year-old in AAA. Mix and match quality player, I think, but maybe you sneak him in for the min if you're going to this team. I realized, by the way, that I've referred to these guys on FanDuel a whole bunch of times, and this game's not on FanDuel. Sorry. I'm not feeling great. I've got all this pricing, and that's from the first game, and I needed it there to be able to provide the numbers for the second game. But I think you probably knew that as soon as I pulled this up with pricing there, that I was going to accidentally refer to these guys on FanDuel throughout the entire thing. Oh, well, Victor Scott's just fast. He gets on base. He might steal you a bag. 325 on base, 16 steals on the year, but just a .089 ISO. He does not hit for power. Just a 91 WRC plus. He does not regularly even create run situations despite his speed because he strikes out 26% of the time. Walks 9.2. That's effective, but we're not on base quite enough to exploit what his true attributes are. Yeah, power. I saw that. Almost as crazy as a news day as Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers, says power. The way I first saw that reported was Aaron Rodgers announces that he plans to travel next week to attend the Steelers mandatory minicamp. And I was like, do the Steelers know that? Did the Steelers invite him to come? But apparently they actually did give him a contract. Wild. Trey says, hope all's well. Hope you're doing better than my Braves. Doing pretty well, buddy, outside of the sniffles today with allergy season kicking in a little bit. But let me punch out there, guys. That's the slate up and down, just 5 games tonight. Overall, 4 games on. FanDuel still went hour and a half for you. Not as bad as not as quick and as short as it could have been. But let me get out of here. 6:40 starts, so let me update the last 3 lineups up on the website so everybody's got them. Let me get my lineups built. I will let me pull the pitching board up one last time, as we usually do before I say my goodbyes. So again, top 2 with a bullet, either which way you want those 2 guys. I prefer Fromber to Max in this situation because Cleveland's a little bit better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is one of the best targets to throw a pitcher against, full stop. Raggins, just question what the innings are going to look like on DK. I don't think you have much ceiling there, but I think you do have at least that total. Liberator, easily playable at 8,000. There's a little bit of a price offset. Definitely in play against KC, but they're low strikeout, and he's fairly low strikeout. Like Pepio a lot at that 68 on DK, and warmed to it for the 9,000 on FanDuel, given what looks like a very low ownership projection. That might be my pitcher of choice on that FanDuel slate if I'm just playing one lineup and get a little bit cheaper and try and win it with some bats. Slate Ciccone is just the target for Yankees bats. Jack Leiter projected with some ownership on FanDuel for the 82, 65, presumably same thing on DraftKings. I think I prefer Pepio in that game for sure to Jack Leiter, but I do think he's got enough talent that you could rip through that Tampa lineup. It's just ballpark, all those hard-hitting lefties. There's a lot to dislike about that spot with Leiter, and he's still not really figured out the major leagues yet. So I kind of stay away from that one. Jake Irvin at the bottom, and then the Drew Pomeranz, Colin Ray situation I want no part of at the end. Home run pick of the day was Ben Rice. Anybody in pinstripes today should look pretty good. With that in mind, you guys, good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share the results when you do, either in Discord or at rotoscouts on Twitter. And we'll be back tomorrow for more. Later.